Welcome to a very hot episode of the Random Nintendo Podcast.
Hot
I'm Angel.
and heavy. I'm Jason.
I'm Kevin. Welcome to episode 235. I remembered it. I didn't even have to look it up.
Nicely done.
Really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is episode 235.
I definitely would not have gotten it right. Well, we got a...
There's no map.
Pretty... Map?
There's no map.
I don't
Carry
know.
on.
I mean, there aren't maps in...
Carrion. There's
Oh.
no map.
Oh! That's right.
I forgot you're going to blurt it out randomly in the next episode, which you succeeded in doing.
Yeah, I was
So there is no map in Carrion.
startled.
There's no map.
States and confused.
We should also clarify the reason this episode's hot and heavy is not because of the topics at hand, although those sales numbers get pretty hot and heavy for me, but it's
God.
really hot out.
Is that the name of the episode?
No, the episode's
hot and
actually
heavy?
called... No, although now I feel like it should be. But no, we're calling this episode... originally the idea was calling it Economic Victories, because we're talking about Killer Queen Black, which is a game we're revisiting now in the context of quarantine with online play, and that's one of the ways you win in it is the economic victory. And Nintendo's financials, like, it's one huge win for them as a company. So
Yeah, but I think I like Hot and Heavy more. Motion to make Hot and Heavy the name of the episode.
the only problem is I already made all the banners and stuff for it. I actually was ahead of the
you got an
curve
extra
for
day.
once. Nah,
This isn't
I
go live
don't.
until later tonight.
Nah, it's too late.
All right, well, you heard it here. Jason cannot be bothered to go with a better episode title.
Can
Yep.
you put it in parentheses, hot and heavy?
I can put it
Oh,
on the
or
blog
do it-
post.
Or do it like, I forgot what show does this, but I think it's an anime that usually has two titles for each episode, and it'll give you the first title, and then it'll say or, and then it'll put the second title.
Okay,
that
let's do
Demon
that.
Slayer?
So
I
wait,
think
let's
that's Demon Slayer,
all
right?
right. Let's restart.
That sounds right. It's either that or Fire Force.
Then let's.
but
All
I
right,
don't
here
know.
we go. I'm gonna do it from the top, and then you can do your alternate title. Hello and
don't have to
welcome to
redo it,
episode
just-
235, Economic Victories.
What?
No, you're supposed to say or hot and heavy. Man, you ruined it.
No, you ruined it with whatever it is you were trying to pull right now. Anyway, so yeah, as Jason hasn't mentioned, you know, or I think he has. Yeah, we're revisiting Killer Queen. We're talking about apparently Tencent. I'm just learning that right now.
Not really. Don't worry. It's only in passing.
So Selena Gomez is making an appearance.
Yeah.
As a talking point in our
Excuse
show.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought? You'll see. Who would have thought? Not me.
Chibi Rob was getting brought up, but not by me.
Selena
surprisingly.
Gomez, the only reason I ever joined Twitter back
Is that
11
true?
years ago. Yeah,
you know,
it
she's
was-
the
it
most
was
followed
my-
person on Instagram.
It was my 11-year Twitter anniversary for my main account like 3 days ago.
So you've been following her for 11 years?
No, I unfollowed her a long time ago.
But yeah, to Angel's point, yeah, we have a lot of random talk about you know, Pikmin 3 Deluxe as well, the new tiny battlefield in Smash Bros, weird Nintendo merch. The list goes on and on. So yeah, to kind of hijack Angel's intro here, there are timestamps available at random.com or under this video if you're on our YouTube at random.nintendo.com. That's the channel. But yeah, since one of our two titles is about Killer Queen Black, should we just talk about what we're playing, which has been revisiting in like the online quarantine version of it, Killer Queen Black?
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Oh, great, good. Okay,
What if I said no?
well, that would be an interesting dilemma.
Then we can discuss that, and then we'll see.
No,
what-
We would
let's
discuss the
talk
debate
Killer Queen
over whether we should discuss. Yes.
Okay.
Let's
All
talk-
right. So
let's talk.
Killer Queen Black had an update I think it's over a month ago now, but essentially
It's about a month ago, yeah.
they added a new map and made some balance changes to the game, which at first I didn't really notice that much, but they're definitely there because we did play with enough people that some people did say they really did notice them. The biggest one, obviously, that I noticed was just some modifications they made to some of the maps, just to either facilitate making a snail victory, making berries harder to achieve, but it didn't really seem to stop my personal berry game because it's pretty good. It's a pretty good berry game, but I would say it's probably one of the best berry games ever.
Oh, really? That's a
You
bold
would know.
claim.
Oh wait, you don't really play with us.
No, I did
weird.
when we played local. That's what's interesting is we used to play this all the time locally.
Yeah,
right.
we've had more. Well, at this point, I feel like we've played it more times online.
And
than we have
that's what's so
locally.
funny because I remember when we talked
And they
about
keep
this.
thinking
Like,
you're there, but you're not.
I'm not, but when we were there, when we played it locally
It's
together,
usually how it
like
goes.
in the before times, I remember we talked about the game on the show like a year ago, and we were saying, "Oh, it's only really good in local play. Like online's kind of doesn't like it's not great." But now it's like completely flipped, and you're playing it more online. And I think this update that you're talking about is probably what enabled that because they cleaned up the online a little, right?
To be fair, when we mean online, when we've been playing online, we're mainly playing against other groups of friends. That's usually what I mean by this game is at its best when you're playing against another group of people that you know. It's not as great when you're just playing against a group of strangers. But that being said, we did actually play a couple rounds. I don't remember if it was. I guess it wasn't with Jason.
It was. I was there. It was a week ago. It was on Wednesday.
Huh. Well, whatever the point. Oh, that's right. You did eventually buy the game. So
yeah, I have it. That's
I also bought the game like 2 weeks ago to play with you guys.
Yeah. We all have it.
Yeah, we all have it.
Well, point is, we finally had a group of
and
4.
I also work somewhere that has a physical Killer Queen cabinet,
which is pretty awesome.
Collecting dust.
The 5v5 version.
Is it the 5?
You know what I find interesting is like how different the cabinet is versus the. I mean, obviously this is a different one. They call it Killer Queen Black versus Killer Queen, but like conceptually, it's the same game either way. You know, it's a game. It's basically Joust, and you have 3 ways to win. You collect berries, you ride a snail, you fly your queen who has a jousting sword into the other queen. But the like physics, the level design, the graphics, like everything's so different between the arcade one and the Switch one. Like noticeably so.
I want to say just the visuals, if anything.
I think it's
the physics are a little different too.
Yeah, the physics are definitely the same.
Okay.
No, they're different.
I'm pretty sure they're the same. I'm like willing to put money on it
considering they adjusted the physics with this update, with the Beetlejuice update.
They also barely. I mean, they adjusted. The only thing they adjusted, like physics wise, was just the vertical mobility of the worker. Everything else was the same.
Kevin, were you trying to say something through all that?
No, I'm ready to put some. Well, I'm ready to see you guys put money on it to see who's actually correct.
Oh, well, the problem is we can't get to an arcade to check this.
Yeah, I mean, well, the biggest difference.
You don't need an arcade, or you could just
look it up,
find it online. I'm sure.
No, we gotta do it. If we're putting money on it, we gotta do it firsthand together. Go and play the Switch version, then turn around and play the arcade version.
I will take my Switch to work. I will plug in the machine and I'll test it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that. I will get fired.
I was so ready to make a bet.
The thing is, like, even if they are, I would say they're like so minor to a point that it's negligible. Especially because on one you have to play with a stick and like the arcade button, and the other one you're playing with a controller, which already would feel vastly different, even if there were or weren't physics differences. The biggest difference I find usually is the fact that on the arcade version there is no background. It's just one solid color. It usually makes it really easy to see where everybody is and what's going on. But in the Switch version, or I guess the Killer Queen Black version, there is like a nice detailed background. Everything is just nicer in general because everything is upscaled, and you know, they're redone sprites that look more like 16-bit graphics versus the 8-bit of the original. And
that's the point I was going to make, is it's like NES to Super Nintendo in terms of difference.
And while I wouldn't say it's hard to keep track of where your character is, it's definitely much harder to keep track of what everyone else is doing. Because kind of like Smash Brothers, I feel like when I'm playing, I'm mainly looking at where my opponent is, and I'm not really looking at where my character is. But in Killer Queen Black, it's kind of hard to do that, except for like your immediate surroundings. But yeah, I mean, the update did bring us a new map, and supposedly like more stable online connections. We did play some games against some strangers, and I mean, I already the online I thought at least connection wise was fine. So if there was an improvement, I didn't notice it, but it's like I said, it already felt perfect. But games versus strangers are probably a little more intense, just because they are against strangers, and you know, they're the worst as usual. Like, and your opponent is automatically the worst kind of person. That's just like the law. But
yeah, of course. But
the nice thing is that when you're playing with a group of friends, obviously, and you all have your voice chat, which I know this game does support, but since we're using Discord, it kind of was irrelevant.
It's fine because this is one of the games that supports it natively on the Switch. You don't need Switch Online's app to do it. You just plug in headphones and go.
Yeah,
and we still use Discord.
But that's already kind of a pain. Unless I'm playing handheld, it's like.
I mean, you can use Bluetooth if you have Bluetooth, like a dongle. Like I have the the Genki one from however long ago they released that. But yeah, you're right. You just have to like plug it in. Yeah.
No, yeah, and I feel like most wireless headphones don't have a dongle. At least like most of the modern ones. Usually they're just...
Yeah, you'd have to buy something like the Genki one.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, they still get really intense, especially because we had a game where we were down 2 games, down to our last one, and we somehow made a very, very, like, convincing comeback. We demolished them, like, the next 3 games. Not sure how that happened. I mean, usually I'm terrible at Queen.
I helped with an economic victory on one of them, and I got us a snail victory on one of them. That helped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait, actually, that leads me to a question. What is your preferred... Well, Kevin, have you played it? I know you have the Switch version. Have you actually played it yet? At all?
He played it with us once.
What?
Okay, so what's your guys' preferred...
Or the OG Killer Queen?
Oh, no,
Either way, just Killer Queen in general.
Yeah, I've played it loads of times.
So what's your preferred, like, prong? What's your preferred strategy? Do you go Queen and try and stab things? Do you go Snail? Do you do Economic? Which do you find works best for you?
I'm a terrible Queen, so...
Me too.
Yeah, I try never to go that route unless I am fully loaded on alcohol and liquor, and in which case I don't care if I'm the Queen. Maybe, like...
Do you ever go the Queen Killer route?
The Queen Killer route? No.
You let someone else become the warrior?
Oh, you know what? You know what? This latest update, I don't know if it was in the latest update that lets you become, like, the ultimate Queen Killer.
I noticed some...
like, you can get the speed, the shield, and the sword.
Oh, that's right. You have a stabby
like,
shield.
Super OP. Yeah. It's insane. That was fun. I killed... I think your brother-in-law a couple of times as the Queen Killer. That was actually fun. But I definitely don't ever go the snail route either. I'm more of the person that calls out when somebody's going through the snail route.
Having someone that calls out is usually very helpful if you're the Queen. Because usually...
Angel,
I mean, I just like to go berries just because I feel like the Shaquille O'Neal of berry like 2-pointers. I just like shoot them in there and like
is that something Shaq is known for? His 2-pointers?
The dunks? I don't know. I know he's known for something.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know.
Well, either way, like I just like to go berries. I feel like most of the time when I'm just focusing on berries, my team usually wins in berries, and usually like the Queen and other people will have to go in there and block, and it's usually in vain. And even if that doesn't work, they're so distracted with me doing berries that it gives someone else the opportunity to get a snail victory or
like me
or something else like
that.
So
that's my.
So no matter what,
that's my go-to is snail.
So no matter what,
I
like
think.
Me going berries just helps the team in general because either we'll win with berries or they're forced to like give me attention, which is always good for our team. But sometimes I'm with a group that I know really doesn't want to use Queen, so sometimes I'm forced to use Queen. And, it's not that bad. I don't dislike it as much as I used to. I think I've gotten used to the controls, but I also think part of the reason why we were losing initially is because I was more focused on just hitting the Queen, that I wasn't paying attention to the fact that when the Queen touches the upgrade module things, that they become locked to that team until the other Queen touches it. Which means that if I touch all the upgrade module berry things, that means the opposing team can't upgrade their workers to any other kind of warrior or speedsters or anything. And once I started focusing on that and literally just going after those, and anytime the Queen would try to go to those, I would just like kill her or kill like the workers. Like, yeah, it pretty much locks them out. The workers can't upgrade and the Queen is forced to run around and prioritize that, which, makes it easier for me to either follow her and reblock the one that she just unblocked. And usually the aggressor, I feel, is the one that ends up losing. Usually it's better to play defensive, wait for them to dash, and then they mess up, and bam, dead. But, yeah, still fun. Kind of wish they added more stages, but...
Yeah.
Because,
Because there's what, like 5 now?
Yeah, like...
6 now?
They're different, and while playing, I'll definitely be like, oh, it's this stage, but, like, just remembering, just, like, reminiscing about them, they all kind of feel samey. The only big difference is there's like the one with the gun, or I guess it's the 2 with the gun, and then there's the one that has really horrible placement for the berries, which is really annoying, where like the berry slots expand through like almost like a third of the whole stage or 2/3. But yeah, it's interesting. Although they did now make it easier to invite people, like as long as they're in the game, you could just press X, I believe, and just immediately click on the person's name and go send invite, and then they'll be able to join your party. So it's easier than ever to, create a party to play online. Because before it kind of was
like
a pain in the butt to have to coordinate and just set that up. Even if you have 8 people locally, I mean, before we had to use 2 switches just so that we could all play on one TV. But now they decided, we could not force them to have to split their controllers this way. Because before, you could only have up to 4 controllers connected. And I think this is still the case, but one Pro controller counts as 2 Joy-Cons. So you can't have 4 Pro controllers. At most, you could have 2, basically, which kind of sucks. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I do think a lot of... I mean, it's circumstance, obviously, that they were, making the online better around the time of us getting locked down. But I do think the game they put out last October, was it? Versus the game that is now available is much more, it's much more ready for prime time in the current situation. I think this is if someone has never played it and doesn't have the experience of the arcade version where you're you have your 2 teams of, in that case, 5, and they're not 5. That's wrong. No, 5. Yeah, that's right. And they're going head to head and you're having trash talk back and forth. They are to make it easy to connect with people. The voice chat thing, it lets you. I know you're saying we use Discord, but I was looking into it, and you can do voice chat with the entire match, all the people in the lobby, and then when the battle starts, it switches to just your team if you want. There's a team chat and match chat option. So they're really trying to make it seem
to strangers.
Hey, this is the arcade experience just remotely, if you want. And they also have a cool thing where if you can invite your friends, but you can also allow your friends to then invite their friends. Kind of you bump into people at a bar or whatever, and they'd have their friend with them. So they are trying to kind of simulate as best they can that experience. I don't think it was intentional. They're now there's a pandemic, let's do it. But it does work out kind of nicely that they're minus the being in a physical space. It kind of checks the boxes now in terms of what the arcade one offered, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it does seem like they're going I don't know if you know about this, that they're actually doing a single player spin-off game, which kind of just seems like the next logical step of if you can't do this in person, what you do. Again, coincidence, it's happening now, but yeah, they're taking the assets and the concepts of Killer Queen Black, and they're making a single player spin-off called Abs versus the Blood Queen, and you play as the little warrior guys, and you're doing all the mechanics. You're getting berries, using them to upgrade weapons. You're using that to kind of make your way through levels and be a warrior and stab things and whatnot. But it's as a single player, I don't know if it's a side scroller or what, but it's a single player thing where it's you versus waves on the computer. From the computer as you keep going, and it's already successfully kickstarted. I think there's only one stretch goal left for the Switch version specifically, but on some level, I feel like they should have put this in the main game. But this is some sort of expansion. It's kind of it's kind of cool, kind of expanding the world of it, taking the mechanics we know and providing them in a different context for people who maybe aren't as familiar.
I mean, I'm saying it's good as a separate thing. Obviously, nothing ever hurts if it's just added on, but I think it's good for Killer Queen Black to stay as this focused multiplayer thing and just improve it that way. Because, I mean, I didn't buy it because I wanted a single player mode out of it. I don't think I ever wanted or even thought oh man, you know what these mechanics would be fun for? A single player adventure game. So I don't know who this for, but I mean, hopefully it's successful. I mean,
my guess is it's partly for the developer, whoever their name is, Bear or whatever, to recoup their costs a bit. Because Killer Queen Black, from my understanding, did not. Nintendo pushed it pretty heavily in the beginning. We
but
first
then they went on
hiatus
many
years ago. Yeah, and then it hit some delays, and it had some netcode issues and all that. And then when it finally came out, I feel like it didn't make the splash that it could have made if it was on track for its original release. And I feel like that was a bit of a monetary issue for the developers, which is probably where the spin-off was.
Wasn't it initially Killer Queen Black a Switch exclusive, and then it became an Xbox One thing also? Yeah,
exactly, and Steam. But that's the thing is there's a reason Nintendo paid so much attention to it up front. It is a really fun game. It's such a simple. It's really there's some depth to it, but it's still pretty simple to get someone to hop in and play with you. Just go, okay, you either grab those berries or you stab the guy or you ride that snail. Mm-hmm. That's it. It is still pretty straightforward, but there is some weight behind. It's really fun. So I imagine
also one of the better games, 4-player games, and not to disparage any of the other the other games of this nature, but every single time that I go to Angel's house, he just has a brand new game that up to like 4 players can play. And I feel like Killer Queen Black is definitely one of the better ones, or one of the ones that we play the most. And I feel like the eShop is just littered with these games. Mm-hmm. And Killer Queen Black is definitely one of the more polished.
Yeah, the fact that it's very approachable.
Absolutely.
Like my sister, who does play games with us every once in a while, but usually stays away from, like, Smash Brothers is already like too much for her in the sense that she's like, I don't want to be bothered like figuring that out. I mean, I mostly played with like Smash 64 and was like kind of having fun with that, but she gets really into Killer Queen Black, and I think that says a lot for the game.
I think it's also just, there is kind of what I was saying about the concept simple. There is a simplicity to the controls, because like regardless of what you're doing, you have a stick and a button. It's like like an arcade game. It literally was an arcade game. So that makes it very approachable, even if you don't like Smash. You have to learn all the ins and outs of all the up B, down B, A, smash stick, this, that, next thing. This, it's like a button and a stick, and you got it. So that also helps make it much more approachable, too. You know,
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, I hope it's like the nice thing about the weird release schedule we're currently in, it is giving us a chance to like go back to older games. Like we talked about Rocket League, we talked about Killer Queen. There's some smaller ones I think we talked about in the beginning, and it is kind of nice to, like, with this gap, for people to maybe rediscover some indies that are worth their attention. Because Kevin, to your point, yeah, like discoverability on the eShop right now, there's so many 4-player couch party local, maybe with an online mode, like head-to-head games, and there's a few that are like cream of the crop. Like Killer Queen Black is up there. I'd say Towerfall is up there, but
Shame Towerfall's not online.
there's a lot. Yeah, that's a bummer. But there's a lot that isn't necessarily up there, but they keep coming out like all the time, so it's easy for these like gems to get buried. Towerfall has name recognition. Killer Queen has a little name recognition, but I feel like it's not quite the same extent. Yeah, so I think, any chance we get to be able to mention it, even if we have talked about it a year ago, it's worth it just to give the game a little more attention.
Yes.
Yeah. So, unless you guys said anything else about Killer Queen.
It's also a song from Queen.
All right. There you have it. It's also a song from Queen. Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's what we've been playing. Unless there's anything else you guys have been playing that you want to mention.
Oh, man, yeah.
But I feel like we're kind of in a lull.
I've been playing stuff, just nothing on Nintendo. But
well, yeah, but that's what Quarantine Chronicles is for.
So
yeah, because Nintendo's in that weird lull, which is funny because, like, we're calling the episode Economic Victory, and half of it is, Killer Queen Black, the berry method is the economic method. But the other half of that title is Nintendo's performance lately has been insane. Like, they're not putting out a lot of games, but they put out a financial report that covers, the first quarter of this fiscal year. So we're talking April 1st through June 30th. In other words, the first 3 months of the pandemic. And in that time, in just those 3 months, they saw gains compared to their first quarter of 2019 that don't even sound real. Hardware sales up 166%. Software sales up 123%. Digital sales, so just sales of their games on the eShop, 230%. Their profit was up 427%, which again does not sound real, to $1.37 billion. That is the highest $1 billion, I should say. That is the highest first quarter profit Nintendo's had in their entire history. And in terms of raw revenue earned, they earned $3.4 billion versus Microsoft's $3.3 billion in the same time frame. Nintendo earned more revenue in 3 months than Microsoft earned across all its divisions. Just like, that's insane.
The funny thing is that, like, you say this is like the first time in history, but because it's just been so successful lately,
yeah,
I feel
it doesn't feel
yeah.
like
If anything, it feels like, didn't we hear this already? It's like, really still, like
in a way,
it's kind of a shame that, like, yeah, that's just how I see them now. But yeah, it's just like the same. It's like, yeah, they're still successful, but I guess even more successful now. I guess they're back to Wii days when they're printing their own money.
They're very close. I mean, they're at the point, if you want to do hardware comparison, they're at the point where they have outsold the NES now. The lifetime sales of the NES. Like, so if you want to get nitpicky, they came up just short of the NES in the last financial report. So as of end of June, they're at like 61.45 million or something, and the NES was 61.91. But then if you add in the weekly sales from Japan, from like Famitsu and those trackers, it is now officially sold more than the NES, which means, to give you some perspective of just how successful now, we are talking like they're going to pass the 3DS next. Like the 3DS is at 75 million. It took, it's been out since 2011. The Switch has been out since 2017, and it's at 62 million, and at the rate it's going to probably pass the 3DS this next year. Based on Nintendo's projections, they're claiming 20 million Switch sold this year. Bloomberg's reporting they might bump it up to like 22 in production. So, it's doing really well. Like to your question of like, is it Wii numbers? It's not Wii numbers, but the bigger measurement is DS numbers. So it's actually exceeded Wii numbers. It's just falling short of DS numbers. In like the DS's prime, it was selling to the tune of 6 to 7 million each first quarter for like 2007, 2008, 2009. And the Switch is hanging on. This quarter it sold 5.68 million, broken down to 3.05 million Switches, not 305, and 2.62 million Switch Lites, which is actually they're pretty neck and neck. I thought the Switch Lite would be further behind, but that's with shortages too. So, Switch is right behind the biggest selling system, best selling system of all time for Nintendo, the DS. So bigger than I think the PS2 even. So it's holding its own. To your point, we have heard it a lot. And the other thing we've heard a lot, of course, is how well Animal Crossing's doing, right?
Well, that game is doing well.
Yeah, who knew? No, but it's like, I didn't, like, you hear, it's doing well, but it's just weird to think what it's become. I mean, it's sold to date in 3.5 months, 22 million copies. Half of those copies, 10.6 million, were just from April till June, so after the launch rush, so to speak. And for some perspective, the new Leaf sold on the 3DS 12 million copies ever total in its life. And they have essentially doubled that in 3.5 months. But what the reason I'm bringing up is what's kind of crazy is it's now Switch's second best-selling game ever.
I'm guessing behind Mario Kart?
In 3.5 months, it outsold... Yes, that is correct. Mario Kart's the only one ahead at 26 million, going on 27 million. But it has outsold Smash Bros. At 20 million. It outsold Breath of the Wild at 18.6 million. It outsold Pokemon Sword and Shield, which together at 18.22 million, which in of itself is a record for Pokemon, actually. Sword and Shield are now the best-selling Pokemon games since Gold and Silver, and the third best-selling generation across all the Pokemon releases ever. Red, Green, Blue had like 31 million. Gold and Silver had 23 million.
Everybody.
Yeah, very good boycott. Good job.
I forgot that was a thing. Oh my God.
And it's only going to go... And it's only going to go higher when they put out the rest of the DLC. Like, they're going to do a marketing push. They're probably going to do a complete edition or something that includes all the DLC for the holidays, especially because they have, like, no other games. So, it's only going to keep growing. It might pass Gold and Silver. I don't think it would pass Red, Blue, Gold. I mean, Red, Blue, Green. But I think it could definitely pass the 23 million of Gold and Silver. But, like, think about that. Like, Animal Crossing's now bigger than Pokemon. And it only took 3.5 months to do it. And again, like, it outsold Mario Odyssey at 18 million. Literally the only game it hasn't outsold on Switch is, like you said, Angel, Mario Kart. But what's kind of funny is that if you think about it, the one constant across all three of Switch's best-selling games, Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, and Smash Bros., is now, in fact, Animal Crossing. Putting Animal Crossing characters indirectly in your game is more of a guaranteed success than having Mario in your game. Because only 2 out of 3 have Mario, but 3 out of 3 have Animal Crossing. Obviously, that's conflating things and not really the case, which is kind of weird to think about. Do I? But but yeah, to say it did well is like, it's kind of an understatement, right? I mean, it's the thing that's crazy is like, okay, so I'm gonna spell off a few more stats and then I'm done. I promise. Best-selling game in the top half of 2020 in 7 different European countries. It now holds the title of being the best-selling individual video game SKU ever in Japan. It has outsold the original Super Mario Brothers. It only lags behind the combined SKUs of Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, and Pokemon Gold, Silver for being the best-selling video game ever in Japanese history. And again, it did it in 3.5 months.
During a pandemic, so...
Well, yeah, that's why, yeah. I mean, it's the joke I always say. Like, it's ethically questionable why Nintendo would, like, release the coronavirus on the world, but it definitely helped their sales. It was a good marketing move for Animal Crossing. But no, it's it's just crazy. And it seems like there's no sign of it letting up, although I don't know, like are you still playing it, Angel?
No.
Like, are you still in it at all?
Yeah, that's
I
kind
feel
of
like
what
I've
I'm
fallen
kind
out.
of surprised by, because I feel like around the time, like the month, literally like the first month that it came out, like everybody was tweeting about it all the time, like what they were doing daily, every other day. I feel people were just tweeting about it, even people that I didn't think played the game, or a lot of people got the game for the first time. Like everybody was literally talking about it. And then after about that first month, I think maybe because after about a solid month of playing, you kind of see everything the game has to offer. I guess many people just fell off, and I don't know.
Well, at least we did. Yeah, because that's I honestly think there's some sort of like engagement ripple effect, where like, you know, if someone you know stops playing, you're less motivated to play, because a lot of what the game is about is kind of like comparing and contrasting your island with other people's islands, going and doing stuff together, sending items back and forth. Like, kind of goes back to the thing I was saying when we first were giving impressions way back in March when the pandemic first started, of like some of the in-game socializing feels like it's been kind of replaced or augmented with things to do to make more real human socializing. Like, they kind of took out some elements of what the animals used to do in favor of putting in more customization to do things with your human friends, which means, you know, as people stop playing it, it will, the same way that someone's like, you have to check this out, and you check it out, when that person's like, okay, I'm done with it now, you're going to be less motivated. Like, I feel like we like kind of stopped around the same time, roughly. I know that like my girlfriend, who had no interest in Animal Crossing, got way into it, was way more into it than me, played it like way more, and then I stopped, and within about 8 days of learning that, she just kind of lost interest on her own too. Like, it was just like, it's one of those things that's like, if you have no one, if you've seen everything like you're saying, and you have no one else to like sort of bounce off of, the game just kind of grinds to a halt until Nintendo does updates. And even then, now I have this weird like anxiety about, like, not anxiety, but like, I don't want to start playing again to go see the fireworks show or do whatever, because I'm like, oh, but all my animals are going to chew me out for not being there for 2 months. Like, I don't want to deal with that. I just won't play it. Like, it's kind of like a weird self-perpetuating thing.
I didn't stop playing because other people stopped playing, but kind of like what you said, I saw like everything the game had to offer, and I was just kind of satisfied. Like, there's still things I want to do.
I guarantee you, though.
And I mean, I just reached that point where all that's left is just to customize the island the way I want to, and that's going to take a long time. Like even if I were to, even if I never stopped and just kept going, I still wouldn't be done. Like, this is going to be like 100-hour plus project, and
I guarantee you, though, Angel.
And from the get-go, like, I knew I wanted to take my really sweet time with it and just like milk it. Like, it pretty much became a game that I'm saving for a quote-unquote rainy day where, like, I have literally nothing else to do. Somehow I don't have a backlog or don't feel like going to the backlog, and I was like, you know what? Let's just continue that island and just keep shoveling.
But I do guarantee you, though, that you'd have a slightly different mentality. Like, if you're saving for a rainy day, you know it's like something to do in the future. But if everyone in our circles was like still super gung-ho and doing stuff to their island and showing you new ideas and having you come to their island and doing stuff like that, I feel like you'd have more of an intrinsic motivation to do your big elaborate plan slightly sooner rather than later, because you'd like,
no, definitely not.
You know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, you'd be missing it. You don't think
even
so?
Though the majority of the people that I know stopped playing, there are still a few people that I know that are still showing me cool things that they're doing, and they're still playing it like every day. But, you know, like, I don't feel any more motivated to do it any more or less. Like, I'm just gonna do it at my pace. Even when we were still like in the thick of it, like playing the game every day, like, I was still going super slowly by my own standards. Like, other people were like, oh, I already have this shop, I already did this, I already did that. But I was like, no, yeah, I'm still just like slowly gathering like orange flowers, and that's all I'm doing. Like, I haven't even like I didn't even get like the KK credits until like maybe a month, like about towards the end of the month, that I finally, like, around the time I kind of stopped playing, where everyone else was getting it like within the first week or two. So yeah, I was very comfortable just going really slow. Well, yeah, because other games just started coming out. I mean, like, other games definitely started taking priority because I reached that point where it just became the loop of building my own island, which has nothing to do with everyone else, I guess, for that matter.
I guess. Okay.
I mean, if all I had was
Nintendo
Nintendo consoles,
like,
then maybe.
Luckily for Nintendo, they don't need you because they have other products and they have so much money.
That's what I was about to say. And not only that, not only do they not need you and they have so much money, but like this game just doesn't stop. So, like, it's like kind of the word of mouth ripple. Like the same way that the ripple can make people stop playing potentially, it's also keeping people playing because, like, according to their own slide deck for their financial stuff, which we'll link to in the blog post for anyone who really wants to dive deep into how much money Nintendo has, they say...
No, they don't.
I guarantee you analysts want to do that. But they were saying that of all the Switch systems that were bought for the first time between, April and June, over half, the first thing they did on the first day they were turned on was play Animal Crossing. So there's constantly this churn of new people coming in. It's still, like, in the top selling of the MPD. And not only that, but, like, it's still culturally, like, kind of everywhere. Like, I honestly... we talked about the brands in it. We talked about the museums that do stuff. We talked about this and the next thing. But it's kind of crazy how, like, here in August, there's still companies, like, marketing around it. There's still, like, people and celebrities marketing around it. Like, if you're wondering why Selena Gomez is relevant
Kevin
to this
is
episode,
related to her.
she was on the What?
That's how it works.
Okay, that wasn't where I was going. But is
I'm
that
sure,
true?
like,
Is there any
I'm
genetic...
sure we took ancestry, like, data. We're probably related at some point.
Huh.
Like, not millions of years.
Of course, millions of years.
like, I don't know, a couple hundred years ago, maybe.
Well, let your
probably
well,
split somewhere.
then you should, I guess, commend your distant. Well, I don't know if you commend her for it, but your distant cousin.
Yep.
She was debuting a new song in Animal Crossing the other week. Like, she's like one of, like we were saying before, one of the most followed people on the internet, one of the biggest celebrities. She did a like stripped down version of her song with that other guy, Trevor Daniel or something, like an acoustic version, in Animal Talking, in that Animal Crossing talk show that they do on Twitch with Gary Whitta. Like, what? Like, she can promote the song anywhere, and it'll be fine. She's a megastar, but she's using Animal Crossing to do it.
Right,
and then,
right.
like, the next day, Phil Spencer from Xbox is on that same program talking about Xbox Series X. And then they've had, like, Sting perform on it. Like, it's crazy how...
They got Sting?
They got Sting.
Oh,
yes.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. It's and like it's just crazy because you have like that going on still, and that's still growing because like Selena Gomez and Sting and in the gaming world, Phil Spencer are big gets. And then like simultaneously, there's all these like additional ad campaigns happening. Like there was one. Did either of you get this promoted to you? I don't know why I got because I'm a guy, but Gillette Venus, like the razor blade for women. They are doing a skin-clusive campaign about like everyone's like should be comfortable in their own skin, and it's all based in Animal Crossing. And they're promoting it on Twitter. Yeah, it's again, it's August. The game came out in March, and there's companies that have nothing to do with video games making download codes for Animal Crossing New Horizon players to look like how their skin looks in real life, blemishes and all. They even offer a They even well, now the next thing I'm gonna say is gonna sound weird after that, but they also even made a prosthetic leg that you can put on your character through the skin builder. But the whole thing is to promote like that they're skin inclusive with their products and everything. But it's literally an Animal Crossing first marketing campaign. They're using Animal Crossing for the whole campaign, and it strikes me as so interesting because Animal Crossing, like, it's more. Like, I don't know what the best game of 2020 is. Like, I have a feeling you guys are going to say Last of Us Part 2,
Why?
if I had to guess. But
Speak for me.
what?
we both got angry at him.
I mean, am I wrong? You guys don't think it's the best
by a
game?
long shot.
There's still.
Not only that, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I would
Sure.
not put it anywhere near my top. I honestly don't even know what came out this year, to be honest.
Interesting.
But if someone were to ask me
Yeah,
what are
it's
one of
all
your
blur at
favorite
this
games, I don't think Last of Us 1 or 2 would come up.
Would you say it's better than Animal Crossing? If you had to pick a game of the year.
They're just very different because I enjoy them for very different reasons.
If you had to pick a... Sure, but if you had to pick a game of the year...
I can't really... I'd be like, do I have to pick between those two?
Okay, fair. No. Because the point I was going to make was, regardless of what game wins all the accolades at the end of the year as being like the best game, I think
Fall Guys.
cultural impact
I haven't
wise,
even played
and
it
like
yet,
significance
but I would like it more.
But as I would say like impact wise, I don't think Animal Crossing is going to be top, not just this year, but for many, many years. Like it's such a watershed, like
Donkey
it's
Kong
bigger than
Country,
gaming game type of thing.
That came out this year.
There you go. But yeah, it just seems like it and sales aren't indicative of quality by any means, but like the broad stroke that this game has had across culture has just been like, I can't think of anything since like Pokemon Go that's been like this. And Pokemon Go, I can't think of what was before Pokemon Go, honestly. Like that in and of itself was kind of like
that was a big deal. That Pokemon Go.
So it's just.
I'd probably say Fortnite before Pokemon Go.
Ooh, yeah, they're right.
Yeah,
even
that's a fair one. Especially now, back in the news now. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
I don't really hear
it, but you didn't see very many people like market with Minecraft. Fortnite, they market in. Fortnite is what I'm worried Animal Crossing might become. Because I don't know if Nintendo's actually going to do this, but if you look at how Epic has turned Fortnite into basically an ad platform, and you look at what companies are trying to do with Animal Crossing outside of Nintendo's purview, like, obviously they're not going to make Animal Talking into an official sanctioned thing by Nintendo. Like, T-Pain was doing bong rips on it. That's not going to become a thing Nintendo does.
T-Pain's awesome, man. He's been streaming more on Twitch recently, and man, he seems like such a good guy.
He seems like super cool. Yeah, but like just super like laid back. But yeah, so like they're not gonna support Animal Talking.
Most of the time, so
yeah. You could hear him doing it in Animal Talking. He wasn't even, and they just like shout things afterwards. It seemed like he was doing a different drug that would get him like coke or something. But then was like he was, you'd hear it and then he'd be like so energized and be like that. Opposite directions, but okay. Yeah, so like they're not gonna support that, but you know, something like what Gillette's doing, something like having all the brands in the game make their own shirts and stuff. Like, it seems like money left on the table. How would you guys feel if Animal Crossing started to be branded like that, or have brands in it?
I don't think I would care, honestly. It's like, as long as they're not like banner ads, I really don't care. And honestly, it might be kind of cool sometimes. I wouldn't mind having like little Dr. Pepper crates in my villager's apartment. I mean, it's no different than, it depends on how it's used. Obviously, because these companies are paying to get their stuff in there, it might not be the way I imagine it, but like ideal product placement for me is kind of like when Pikmin 2 had like, you could find a Duracell battery or like random stuff on the planet, but they didn't know what they were. They would pick them up and give them their own weird, funny descriptions. And I thought that was cool, and it made the game that much more immersive. It's like, oh, I recognize that, but they think it's something else completely. So, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I think there like there's two ways this can go, because Nintendo could do. I mean, like, how did you feel about when they put the Mercedes in Mario Kart 8 and Mario Maker back on the Wii U? Like, did that feel too jarring?
I thought that was.
It must have felt more jarring.
That was funny and weird,
right? But like I actually didn't mind it too much. But I mean, if they did something, I don't know what the equivalent would.
Kind of like under your breath, you were like, "Oh, get that Mercedes out of my
I was
Nintendo."
Like, this is funny, and I'm like, but I prefer Audi. No, I didn't mind it too much.
I mainly only hate it when I lose to it because like, capitalism wins.
Yeah, but yeah, so like my concern is it's gonna be something that sort of fish out of water feeling. If they were doing Animal Crossing, but like they have a bit of a precedent, I guess. Like they had the Hello Kitty crossover in New Leaf back in the day, and Pocket Camp just recently did a crossover with a Japanese clothing company called it's spelled SOU. I'm not sure it's an acronym or word, but maybe it's Susu. Anyway, they did something called the Yakara collection, and it actually is both in game and in real life. In that in game, from now until I guess September 7th, you can wear gear from this clothing brand and craft furniture that this clothing brand designed the patterns for. But then in real life, that company is also letting you buy the furniture with those same patterns in their store and get it like physically in your house. So if it's something like that, I feel like that could go over better. But if it's something where it's just like, you know, like Supreme like is doing a drop in Animal Crossing, I guess it would depend on what it is, actually. Some of that might not be so bad. Or like how Marc Jacobs or like Valentino has clothes in it. Maybe that'd be okay. But I just have this weird, like, what if it's like, oh, the Carnival cruise ship has arrived at your island or something. It's just like, what? Like, that could be kind of a little weird.
I don't think that would ever happen. It feels like, at least with Animal Crossing, the mainline game, Nintendo is really closed off on it, almost to a fault. Even to...
I mean, they did have Hello Kitty in New Leaf.
Yeah, but it's Hello Kitty. I mean, that's practically their prime minister, so...
Yeah, I guess, in a way. But yeah, I think you might be right that, like, Nintendo might prefer to leave my own tail. Because it's just kind of a slippery slope. Because even if you did the Gillette skin thing, the, what do they call it? The Skinclusive campaign, it's just, like, at some point, like, it sounds like a good idea until it's, like, players are like, what? This doesn't, like... Like, if Animal Crossing is like, you can now alter your skin tone or alter your blemishes powered by Gillette, that just feels, I don't know.
I feel like Nintendo would just straight up do that and not even do it with Gillette.
Yeah.
Probably. Like, like for people that have, I don't know what the skin condition is, or maybe it's because, like, they're burnt, but they have, like, I guess, spots for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think having more inclusive options would be good. I know that there's also been a push to have more hair options. But yeah, I think it'd be weird if it was branded. Like if it's like, I don't know, Purell provides new hair options or something. It's just like, okay. Or not Purell. They don't do hair. Pantene. Is
I mean, it's kind of like, the way I see it, like they're, even if they get close to doing anything that looks like an actual product, I don't think Nintendo is going to team up with anyone. They're just going to do it. Just look at the Yeezy knockoffs in Splatoon. Like, they're clearly supposed to be Yeezys, but yeah, I don't think they actually collaborated with Kanye to get them on there.
We would definitely know if they collaborated with Kanye. He would definitely be talking about how it works with Nintendo.
But there they are.
The Miyamoto of music or whatever.
Whatever they're called, something 750s or whatever.
Yeah, they're just 750s, I think. Something 750s. Runner 750s? Like, there's some generic name. But, yeah, honestly, we may be getting a little ahead of ourselves here. I mean, like, right now, like, Animal Crossing bringing money hand over fist for Nintendo as is, with no official tie-in promotions. So, you know, it's not like they need to do it. And even beyond just the quarter covered in the financials, like, it's still doing well. I mentioned it before, we'll talk about it more in depth later, but, like, in July, on NPD's top 10, Animal Crossing's still number 5. And right behind it, at number 6, is Nintendo's other big breadwinner for the past quarter, which was Ring Fit Adventure. And I actually think, like, the parallels in engagement with Ring Fit to me and compared to, like, Animal Crossing are kind of interesting because, you know, like Animal Crossing, I think it has word of mouth in its favor. It has the same sort of, like, engagement ripple where a person talks about using it and that might get another person to jump in. And I think also, like, Animal Crossing has benefited, obviously, from everyone needing to stay home in these coronavirus times and not being able to go to a gym or whatever. Like, so much so that, as we all know, Nintendo had those crazy shortages, and, like, Kevin, you couldn't get yours until, what, like a month ago?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, which lines up because June and July, Nintendo saw the highest sales for Ring Fit as they started getting it back in stores that they had seen since last year. Like, it was even higher than the New Year's resolution bump it received in January. So now the game's moved over 4 million copies in total since October. But it does sort of beg the question, if it gets the same bump of from word of mouth in terms of, like, getting more people to check it out, could it have the same drop off that Animal Crossing might be seeing with some of its more lapsed or older players? So I'm curious, are you guys still actually playing it daily?
Every day, whether I want to or not, because, you know, it's work.
It's routine now?
Yeah, it's routine. But damn,
Kevin, did it ever reach, like, routine point for you?
No, I'm trying really hard to make it routine though.
it takes about.
I feel that I stopped during the holiday, like before the holidays.
Like,
even I
like anything, like trying to run or whatever. It takes. I mean, I don't know where this number came from, but like the thing I always hear on the internet or from experts, quote unquote, is that it takes 21 days to develop a routine of anything. So until you do something for 21 days straight or close to that, like if you drop off at any point, it's just going to be that much harder to get back into it. But once you pass that threshold, it becomes so much easier, almost to the point where, like, it just, you get pulled out of bed, or because I do it in the morning, like, and you have to do it. Like, you just feel like I have to do this, otherwise, like, you're just going to feel, like, crappy for not having done it. And it just becomes easier, except on days like a few days ago where like the last few bosses I fought literally have like stacked health bars, so you have to like pretty much beat them twice, and yeah, it just gets really tough.
And you're doing level 30, right? You're doing literally the hardest.
Yeah, and then there was like,
you have to do it twice.
And then there were some bosses where like you could coordinate and stack some shakes so that they could be more manageable, but then there are those gyms where you have to do a set routine, and on those routines you just have to do the workout. There's like no amount of shakes or any way you could cheat it out. You just have to, and by cheat it out I mean like say you have to do 30 squats, you might get away with only having to do like 20 of them if the enemy dies before you have to do all 30. But in these gyms you actually have to go through the whole thing. And there was a gym I just went through recently that was like, it almost like took me out. This is, you have to do like 30 squats where you have to hold it down for like 3 to 4 seconds each squat, and then some mountain climbers, and then some more squats, and then some more like knee lifts, and it's just ridiculous. But you survive. I do love that each world is centered on different things. Like I just passed another arm world, so it was nice that I had a break from anything leg related. But yeah, still going strong, still going hard.
Are you seeing actual benefits like in day-to-day life, like your like stamina?
Well, like yeah, doing other I mean the fact that I do exercise in the morning just like gets me up and energized for the rest of the day. Like I think it beats out just waking up, eating, and going to work any day. Like I love the fact that I have to get up early enough to do the workout, then I take a shower, then I eat, then I go to where my work is, and I still have like an hour and a half before work starts. So that's usually when I watch my anime or practice Japanese or play some other game, and yeah, then I start working. It's like nice knowing like, oh yeah, I already did my workout before work even starts.
What time do you wake up? How do you have time for all that?
We start work at 10, so you have plenty of time.
But when do you wake up? That's still many hours of activity. Oh God, I can't get up at 6.
I have to be at work at 6 most of the days, so I can't do that.
Oh God, I can't get up at 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's 4 hours before I go to work. So I don't blame you for not waking up at 2. That'd be like the equivalent. I guess you'd have to do it at night, but I can't. I get too mentally exhausted to do any kind of exercise at night. That's why I have to do it in the morning if I want to do any exercise at all. But yeah,
it is interesting though that you guys are kind of like actually I'm more on Kevin's side because I haven't played Ring Fit since like November. I know, shame on me. But you guys are kind of like me and Kevin and you, all three of us are kind of like the all the different ways that people could be using Ring Fit. Which I mean, as far as Nintendo's concerned, once it's sold, it's sold. But like again, thinking about how like Animal Crossing has its ebbs and flows of use, it is kind of interesting that as people drop off, like right now, Nintendo's like ramping up. They're going to be bringing it to China soon, so that's going to be a whole new market. Tencent and Nintendo just got approval for Ring Fit to now be in China. It's going to be, I think, the 4th Switch game released in China, so like they clearly see an opportunity here and are taking it. But just kind of funny that like, they in terms of engagement with the product, it's like, oh, fine, if these people aren't going to do it, we'll just open it up to this whole other audience and have it chart on the MPD month, chart month after month, and we'll sell 4 million now and just keep going and have it be the slow burn. And like for them, I'm sure once it's sold, they really don't care unless they're planning to do DLC. But in which case they probably want to find a way to re-engage us, and maybe the DLC is the way. I don't know. But yeah. So Kevin, you and I should make a pact of both of us getting into Ring Fit somehow, and then sort of keep each other in check. Since Angel's way ahead of us.
No, yeah. I don't know how much farther ahead you are than me.
Not very.
He's still in the first world.
No, I beat the first world.
What counts as the first world? Like
every time you beat every time you beat Drago, yeah, that pretty much takes you to the next.
Okay, so the last thing that I did was beat Drago. Well, I mean he beat me physically, but
I think we're roughly at the same spot. Although to be honest, I'm not the same level as you. I'm at like level. I'm not doing 30 or whatever craziness Angel recommended. I'm like 15, 16.
You're probably 16. 16,
like
I think is like what it starts you on. Although I could.
Yeah, well, it starts you based on a few different things.
We would equalize.
Although if I really want,
we would. Now that I think about it, we wouldn't.
Yeah, there's no way. Just do milestones. You see who can reach a certain milestone by a certain point.
But if we're putting in different energy up front, it's easier for one person to go longer than the other.
That's on you guys. Then just set yourself to the same level. That's it.
I don't want to go 30. That's madness.
Yeah, and I don't want to go lower than 30 now.
Because that's also madness.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, well. Yep. All right. It was a nice thought. Anyway, other games.
Unless we meet in the middle.
I thought Jason would do it anyway, so I guess I would just give the automatic victory to Kevin.
Wow. He's trying to goad me into making an agreement on a recording. I could tell. I'm not going to fall for your trap, Angel.
No, I'm not trying to. It's just a fact. Like, I know Kevin at least will put in effort to actually do exercise with Ring Fit Adventure.
Oh, yeah. No. That's true.
The fact you need this to even do it already, is already telling.
Hey, I walk nightly for
that's
nothing.
That's
2-mile walk.
Nothing.
It's like 2 miles. It's not nothing. Nothing
when
to sit on the couch.
When you walk
little,
4 miles
but it's not
a day, then talk to me.
Do you walk 4 miles a day?
COVID.
Every day? COVID.
Every week.
Every day?
That was my routine before Ring Fit Adventure. Well, it was actually walking 2 miles and then running 2 and then
just showing me up. Anyway, so Ring Fit's doing well for Nintendo. As is Animal Crossing.
You could set the thing in Ring Fit where you set it so that you could. Yeah,
you can set the Joy-Con by itself and use that to track you as you walk. But on the flip side,
no, not for that.
The Apple Watch actually has.
Put the Ring-Con in put the Joy-Con in the Ring-Con, so then when you're at work, you could do like some exercises with your arms and stuff while you're sitting on your desk or between your legs or something.
That's a good point, considering I'm sitting one room away from where the Ring-Con sits.
No, you don't even have to be close to it. Like, it's like a actual mode.
No. My point is, like, since I work from home, that's actually doable. I'm not gonna bring the Ring-Con to work, but I can have it here.
Why wouldn't
when I was in the office,
because you'd be embarrassed? Did they make fun of you or something? Or
no, it just seems like one more thing to leave on my desk that can get taken if someone wanted to.
You don't have your own office? I thought you were the boss.
No, I don't have my own office. Anyway, sales, Animal Crossing, Ring Fit. No, they're both doing well, but I think like I guess what I'm saying is I think Ring Fit's about to blow up even bigger. Like, I think we're at it's on the rise. Animal Crossing stays steady, but it feels like anything that Nintendo. See, I'm just like diving right back in. I was gonna say it feels like anything that Nintendo puts out at this point is like destined for greatness. Like I was mentioning the NPD charts, right? And they covered a period after the financial report, but do include the launch of Paper Mario: The Origami King. Sure enough, good old Switch bump in action. You know, any Nintendo IP seems to perform better on Switch. And it's in full effect here. Origami King was the largest debut of any entry in the Paper Mario series. It surpassed the previous debut of Super Paper Mario, which means it sold at least 352,000 units in the 2 weeks of July that were counted. And it doubled the launch sales of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
Why did you only say it that way? Has it still not surpassed the sales of Thousand Year Door total?
It's only been out for 2 weeks, so I guess it hasn't. I'm saying the way that the NPD group presented it, because
Super Mario.
No, the debut sales of Super Mario. It had a stronger first month than Super Paper Mario and Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door. Double ESO, Thousand Year Door, something above 352,000 for Super Paper Mario. Again, off 2 weeks, off only physical sales, doesn't count eShop. But what's interesting is Nintendo was saying in their financials that eShop sales, 2/3 of everything sold in the eShop are digital versions of physical releases. So it's probably safe to say that, you know, Paper Mario is doing very well and probably hitting some really big numbers, which is a pattern that's, like, to Kevin's earlier point, Nintendo just has a ton of money because it's a pattern that happens with every Switch game, like even Clubhouse games, which felt like it came and went with no fanfare outside of maybe me a few episodes
making
ago.
Those stacks.
Yeah, well, apparently not. They sold 1.03 million copies of that thing in less than a month.
And you're pitching of it.
I know, yeah, and I'm getting no money back from Nintendo. They're sitting on $3.4 billion.
You know their
revenue,
phone number. Call them after this.
I do. It's 1-800-255-3700.
That's weird that you say it like that. I always said 3700, but yeah.
Well, to each their own. But yeah, it's so it's kind of with that in mind, with all these different sales numbers, that we can now turn our attention to the fact that there is another game coming out that Nintendo could sell. Finally, we know. Not so coincidentally, it was announced the morning before the financial report drops. They kept something on their release calendar to tell investors, and that was Pikmin 3 Deluxe. So what do you guys think? You gotta get Pikmin 3 Deluxe?
No.
All right.
Maybe.
You okay. Have you played Pikmin 3 on? Oh no, you never had a Wii, did you?
Pikmin 3.
If I had never played Pikmin 3, I would definitely be getting it because Pikmin 3 is a really well has a really well designed we'll say controls, I guess. Oh wait, that's on the Wii U though. Well, I'm sure they'll make it work on the Wii. I mean on the Switch.
They sort of. I mean, it already did work that way on the Wii U. You could play with.
But I guess the thing is like playing with the gamepad as like an accessory, like as my map. Not only I felt like made it more immersive because that's also the way the characters used it, but because you're controlling 3 captains, it helped micromanaging everything. It also made the micromanaging just very fun. It felt like I was playing like StarCraft Lite, but the only downside. Agree. Even if I'm not that big a fan of Pikmin 3, only because I found it very, very disappointing compared to Pikmin 2. Everything about Pikmin 3 was like a downgrade, except for the controls. I thought that was amazingly fun. But the game itself and the level design, I thought were just terrible. Like, everything was just super easy, and like, easy and simplified, which maybe that was their goal, just to make it more accessible. Pikmin 2 kind of felt like, let's make everything really hard and masochistic. And Pikmin 3 felt like they're like, oh man, we probably hurt too many people's feelings. Let's scale back a lot and make it, I don't know, and just make it way more accessible. Like when I 100% of Pikmin 3, like I thought like when I got the last pieces of fruit and stuff, I was like, oh cool, I guess we're probably gonna unlock the second campaign now, and it's gonna get really nuts. And then nope, nothing. That was it. And it just kind of left us with like a big hole in our chest. And then they eventually dropped some DLC, which I know is included in this, that had levels that were really difficult and really awesomely designed, that had a lot of like just crazy, like with conveyor belts, a lot of harder enemies, a lot of trickier like item placements. And like I was thinking like, man, if the game was designed like this, it would have been way better. But I mean, unfortunately that wasn't the case. So
what's funny is your concerns that it was too easy. One of the things they're touting about Deluxe is they're adding difficulty options, including lock-on targeting and hints and what sounds like the ability to move the time limit, which they're saying, it's difficulty options, but it sounds like it's all to try and make it easier and more relaxed. But your main concern
they sound more like
is it was already too easy and relaxed.
Yeah, because the difficulty from Pikmin 2 didn't come from like the fact you died easily or anything. It was just how much you had to like manage your Pikmin. Like there were a lot of areas where you couldn't get any more Pikmin, so you had to really like figure out how you want to split them off, like who's going to tackle this enemy. You had to really get good at like flipping through the different colors to fight certain bad guys, because there were some enemies that were just either really fast, or really good at taking out certain types of Pikmin, or were even really good at taking out Olimar and Louis specifically. And they made them like, it just made it really tense and really like thrilling and just that much more satisfying when you beat it. And I don't think I got any kind of like, I don't think I ever got that kind of satisfaction from beating any of the bosses. Like maybe the last one, the final boss, I thought was probably like the coolest, most unique one. Actually, most of the bosses are pretty decent. Like I would give them that, but just everything else just felt really easy. And I don't know, I think maybe because like now you had 3 captains that you were able to do like 3 times the work. But I think they should have scaled the world to that. Instead, maybe it felt like they kept the world to like Pikmin 1 size, but now you have 3 characters to do it with, instead of making it, match the fact that now you have 3 hands. Well, 6 hands, I guess. But I mean, besides, co-op has always been the part where like I felt Pikmin shined the most, and it is awesome that you can now do the campaign in co-op. But if I hadn't played Pikmin 3, I would have loved to do that with Elvis. I mean, Elvis and I spent so many hours, like the bulk of our time in Pikmin 2, like part of what made us love it so much, besides just having a difficult, lengthy campaign that was literally 2 campaigns long, because you go back to the island with the president and you do all this other stuff. The multiplayer had these co-op missions that were all like super difficult, but if you 100% of them, you get the pink flower. And my brother and I that pretty much meant you had to lose no Pikmin. So my brother and I would always have to find these weird, like, or just roundabout strategies to find ways to like defeat the enemy without losing any Pikmin. And it was just so fun and so hard, but super satisfying. And the DLC finally gave us that, but I kind of wish that kind of extended throughout the normal campaign, or there were just more of those early on. And it kind of sounds like they are addressing that. They now have a prologue, there's an epilogue, but the bulk of the game is what we've already seen, though.
Right?
Yeah, so it puts us in a weird position. I just want to wait for Pikmin 4, or even like, it's just been that long that I wouldn't mind replaying Pikmin 2, but I would want it on the Switch, or honestly, if I could find, yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird situation. Because also pointer controls, like, I did get kind of spoiled by them from Pikmin 3. Playing it with the pointer with like an actual infrared sensor is super, super nice. Using the gyroscope to simulate a pointer on the Switch isn't as great feeling, because I was able to feel that with Little Inferno. It works, but it's not the same. There is enough of a delay that I could see it being a problem for a game like Pikmin. But you could get it kind of close, which means you would have to go back to controller mode, and they have the targeting system now, so that makes sense. And we did beat Pikmin 2 with a GameCube controller, so it's not like, if we love that game so much, if we love that game so much, why wouldn't we just go back to that? But Pikmin 3 showed us that there is a much more fun and awesome way to control these characters, and I don't really want to go back. So, I'm just in a weird holding pattern. I don't even know.
I think in your defense, like, you're not just in a weird holding pattern, but you kind of like are coming in at the middle, because like if you're playing Pikmin 3 for the first time, they're basically like, here's the core game, it's relatively approachable. Here's some DLC, it gets difficult, and then here's these Olimar and Louis, the extra side missions you were talking about, which for all we know, depending on how they roll them out, could be even more difficult than the DLC that you thought was satisfying. It really depends on how they like structure the game. But like if you're coming into Pikmin 3 blind, like let's say Kevin might be, you could get a very good ramp up of difficulty. It might be a little weighted towards like the easy stuff, like a little top heavy on the easy stuff, but you will progress through and it will get harder. While when you played it originally, it's just like, here's a really easy thing, and then 6 months later, it's like, oh, here's a Christmas map and some hard stuff. And then 5 years later, they're like, oh, and here's some more hard stuff. Is like, you have to rebuy it.
That's probably why the only reason why my brother and I are so like down on Pikmin 3 is because Pikmin 2 like set a precedent of difficulty. Like, it knew you beat Pikmin 1, so it was already like, all right, you already know how to play. Let's just like ramp this up. Like, you're a veteran. And then even after you beat the game, it had a whole new campaign where it was like, all right, now we're going to kick it up even higher. And then Pikmin 3 came in, showing more potential, like, oh man, we're going to make these levels way harder now because we know you beat Pikmin 2. But that ended up being...
But they can't assume that. It's a different system.
No.
I know. One and two are on the same systems. You could argue it.
It's wrong that they did.
Yeah.
It's just like, as someone that came off of Pikmin 2, having 100% at that, going to the next one, which was what it was just disappointingly easy. But had I never played Pikmin 2, I probably would have loved the heck out of Pikmin 3. And then I would, like, for anyone new, I would probably recommend playing Pikmin 3 first, and then get used to the game, and then maybe playing Pikmin 2. Mm-hmm. But
plus, there are a couple good things in 3.
Like I said, like
regardless of difficulty, I'd say. I mean, one. No, I mean the stuff you didn't even mention. One. Well, this is in Deluxe, but they brought back the Piclopedia, which was weirdly missing in 3. Which is a total minor thing, but like you were talking before about like the kind of like whimsy of how they would describe mundane items in like these fancy ways, like, oh, it's a Duracell battery, but like here's how Olimar views it. Like the Piclopedia was kind of part of that, but it was for the monsters and the creatures you encounter. And Pikmin 2 had it, and then Pikmin 3 didn't, but now they're bringing it back for Deluxe, and it's written in Captain Log style from the 3 characters. And there's like an achievement system tied in or something where you get badges the more you unlock in the Piclopedia and the more you discover, which I guess is some sort of completionist thing they're trying to do to maybe address difficulty, but it's not really a difficulty thing. It's more just a busy work thing. But either way, like, it's a cool addition. But the bigger one that I'd say is something that Pikmin 3 has as favorite that you kind of glossed over, Bingo Battle. It was in 2 as well, but I feel like they really refined it in 3. Like, Bingo Battle is awesome.
We played
like,
it.
Did you and Elvis do it?
Really,
I really like it.
It's like
so,
the
yeah,
most.
I think.
I mean,
Bingo...
yeah, like I could see why you would love it, but
that sounds weirdly condescending.
Because
no, but like,
I mean, it's a fun party thing, but I mean, that's not what we play Pikmin for. But yeah.
Well, okay, so for those who don't know what Bingo Battle is, I should explain it real quick. It is more of a party thing, you're right. So basically, and at first, I guess my affinity to it does go back to the start of Pikmin 2, because like you're talking about how you played all with Elvis. In high school, my friend and I remember I got Pikmin 2, I was so excited for it. He came over, we did Bingo Battle. I destroyed him. Like, I totally, like, it wasn't even fun. Like, it's rare for me to destroy someone in a video game, and I just destroyed him. And then he's like, maybe I should check this Pikmin game out. And then he just, like, he didn't say anything about it for like a week and a half, comes back to my house 2 weeks later, destroys me. He secretly went and bought the game and trained up in Bingo Battle, and then came back and just, like, yeah. So I have this weird, I think part of the reason I like it so much is I had this weird, like, nostalgia of something I was actually good at one point. But, like, beyond that personal reason, I think it's pretty fun. Like, basically what you do is you're setting these maps and you're going head to head, and there's like a 4x4, I think, bingo card, and you have to get items to fill out the bingo card. So you go and find a battery or whatever, and you have to make a row, either vertical, horizontal, diagonal, what have you. And if you get 4 in a row, you win. Similar bingo. And in Pikmin 2, what they did was you used to also be able to steal people's marbles from their base in lieu of getting items. So their base is, the onion where the Pikmin come out of, and you can go over there and kind of try and take marbles while they're off collecting items, or you could go collect your own items, or you could try and kill all their Pikmin, or I think you could kill their captain, and that would do it too if you deplete their health. For 3, they took away the multi-marble thing and put only one item called the Victory. What was it? Was it a macaroon?
Macaroon sounds right.
Was it like a ice? It must have been a macaroon. Yeah, so I guess it's a macaroon, and you can just get this one thing and carry it back to your base. But then to kind of mix it up, they let you have 2 types of Pikmin in Pikmin 3 instead of just one. So when you were doing the original Bingo Battle in the second game, you each had a group of Pikmin, be it yellow, blue, whatever, and that was it. This time you can actually have different Pikmin with different skills and kind of use those to do different strategies. So it was like, to me, it felt like a little faster pace because you don't have to get as many marbles. You could just do the one macaroon, but at the same time a little more strategic because you now had to actually think about different Pikmin powers and countering different things from your opponent versus them just repeatedly grabbing a marble. You're not like, oh, well, maybe they're attacking me with this while simultaneously doing this with this other set of Pikmin on top of just where they're physically placing the Pikmin. And I don't know. I thought that was very fun. Actually, in terms of the gameplay, it's kind of a Pikmin version of Killer Queen Black. Like the idea of all the different paths to victory. Like, it is kind of like, look at that episode synergy we have, but it is kind of,
I mean,
yeah, I
it's
just thought
a cool
it was very
concept.
cool.
I mean, literally the only reason I think we didn't like it is just because Pikmin was just a type of game we just wanted to play together. Like, playing against each other, for some reason, it just wasn't fun. Like, we just didn't like playing against each other in Pikmin. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's also kind of why I don't know, like, this game, Pikmin, is kind of like, I would say, like a very simplified Nintendo-fied version of like StarCraft, because it is about like managing resources, gathering more units, sending them off to carry stuff, and you go back to your base. And I don't know, like those kind of games, like they can be fun for sure, but if it's just like me against one other person, like my fun enjoyment of it, like it just like diminishes quickly. If it's like a free for all, I'll have much more fun. If it's in a team, I'll have much more fun. But yeah, just like those kinds of games, I guess I just almost exclusively like to either play them in co-op or single player.
Just don't resonate. I mean, Kevin, have you played the GameCube Pikmins?
Yeah, I love Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2.
Where do you stand? What do you consider Pikmin to be? Like, where are you more on the Angel? Like, did you do the multiplayer? Do you prefer the single player? Are you more like the RTS side of it?
It was just strictly single player for me.
Oh, you guys are missing out. I'm telling you. You know what I really wish, though, is because now I have friends that don't want to play Bingo Battle. And there is no way to play currently. I wish they did Bingo Battle online. Like, then they could maybe expand it out and do even like Team Bingo Battle, where it's you and a friend as 2 captains. Because there is 2v2 and 1v1 in Bingo Battle, I think. But I think it's just you control 2 captains or 1 captain. So if they were to let you each control individually and they do 2-on-2 through Switch Online, which is already supported for leaderboards in the game, that would be kind of cool. So, they just need to build entirely new netcode.
I just don't want to play against
for
people
a port of a Wii U game.
Style game.
Well, then I guess it's good they have a co-op for the whole story mode. Should you decide to double dip?
Yeah.
Should you decide?
I'm still waiting for that.
Yeah, but I guess the one thing that
Pikmin 4, which I'm pretty sure was just Let's Go Pikmin, but
yeah, No, it was not Hey
Find
Pikmin.
Hey
Let's Go
Pikmin
Pikmin
or-
is not a thing.
Or Yo Pikmin.
It was not.
Yo.
It was not Hey Pikmin. Sup Pikmin? No, I thought originally it was probably Hey Pikmin as well. So for anyone who doesn't know what to talk about, in 2015, Shigeru Miyamoto did an interview with Eurogamer. I think it was that summer of 2015, and said Pikmin 4 was, quote, very close to completion. And everyone's like, oh, sweet. And then, 2017 rolls around, and Hey Pikmin was announced for the 3DS, and that was that side scroll or Yo Pikmin or whatever you want to call it. Yo MTV Raps Pikmin, and and that was a side. Yeah, exactly. It was basically what they did to Chibi Robo, but for Pikmin. Side scroller. They kind of it's almost like Lemmings in a way. How it was set up, or like Kirby Mass Attack, but with Olimar in front of them. Yeah, and then at the E3 between when Hey Pikmin was announced and released. They asked Miyamoto again, so what's up with Pikmin 4? And that would be the time to go, oh, this is what we meant. It's actually a spin-off now. It evolved. But no, he said Pikmin 4 was still progressing. It still existed. So I don't know where it went. I don't know where it's at. But the only thing I can think of is besides the fact that they're not going to spend the money to do netcode for Bingo Battle and Pikmin 3, even if they were, they would probably hold it for Pikmin 4. Whenever that happens, because that's an actual like enhancement of a thing. So from a fan perspective, when Pikmin 3 Deluxe was announced, it's just like, oh, this isn't Pikmin 4. But I guess from a business perspective, I would say we're all kind of on the same page. That makes sense why they're doing this, right? Like even if we personally want Pikmin 4, I mean, like. The Wii U had such a tiny audience.
It would be going out to die, even if
and like ports do really well.
Who cares if Nintendo goes under? At least I get what I want.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, not necessarily going out to die, but like, not necessarily sent out to die, but like they can make much more money off re-releasing 3 to like 3 hit an artificial ceiling because of its audience, and like Nintendo knows Switch ports do well. I mean. A very recent example is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, right? That came out like 6, 8, 10 weeks ago. Pretty niche franchise for Nintendo. It sold 1.32 million copies in a month on the Switch, according to that financial report Nintendo put out. I think that's like one of the fastest selling or best selling Xenoblades yet. Just because it's on Switch. And then, you got all those stories of how like, DK Tropical Freeze outsold the Wii U original almost instantaneously, or how like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which arguably has fewer enhancements than even Pikmin 3 Deluxe, that's gone on to sell 7.4 million copies. That's well over the Wii U's original 5.8 million. And what's crazy there is like that game, Mario U Deluxe, is still charting. It's on the top 20 in July for NPD somehow. It's number 14. I don't even know what it's doing there, how it got there, but a year and a half-ish later, it's still charting. It's like, even if Pikmin 3 doesn't do Mario U numbers, like, I could see why Nintendo wouldn't want to invest in a Pikmin 4 yet if they could just kind of recycle Pikmin 3 as much as, like, it means for us. I don't get my online bingo battle. You don't get your harder difficulty. Yeah. It's kind of a blessed situation, but I get why they're doing it. And, like, honestly, the way 2020 is going, I'm starting to come around to almost just wanting Nintendo to keep porting stuff. Like, if they're looking for low-effort releases and those boosted numbers can mean further down the road, we get new entries in whatever franchise we want, I'm all for it. Like, here's a chance to get F-Zero back on track. Here's a chance to get Custom Robo. What?
Yes, give me all those.
Oh, I thought you said ugh. And I was like, what? Yeah, or like, Custom Robo,
just
although that one,
Sluggers.
that one, honestly, they'd either have to do an HD remaster.
Jeez.
Or, there you go, Super Slug. Like, get Mario Baseball going. I'm down for an Excite collection, Excite Truck, Excite Bots, maybe Excite Bike World Rally all in one package. Like, Nintendo's sitting on so many IPs they can kind of shine a light on for minimal effort. And if they're worried the games won't perform at the same scale, say a Mario or a Breath of the Wild, that's fine because what's still selling over 1 million copies every quarter? Mario Kart and Breath of the Wild. Like, they are still, like, they can do these kind of small, like, feeler games while simultaneous, or feeler re-releases while simultaneously still
like
making money hand over fist.
Usually you don't say the same phrase twice
like,
in one
I guess really, I just...
Yeah, you already said it once.
Did I say it twice?
Yeah.
Interesting. We should just delete this episode and restart. I can't say the same phrase twice.
No, I think, do you know how
but
hot
no,
it is here?
no. What? Yeah, no, we're not restarting. No, but I guess really what I'm saying is like,
What happened to
I
Chibi
want to
Robo?
avoid what happened to Chibi Robo. So Angel, you've been saying for so many episodes how Nintendo did Chibi dirty, and it actually looks like it was a big enough downfall that the developer of Chibi Robo, Skip Ltd, might have closed for good.
Well, I mean, if they
Or
actually
at least that's what it's
marketed
looking
their
like.
games and tried
Their
releasing them
website-
here, I mean, yeah, I guess things could have been different.
Yeah, but and it's Nintendo's fault. It's not Skip's. Like, Nintendo's the one. Like, the original
was
Chibi Robo on
also-
GameCube didn't sell great. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that. But it came out like the tail end of the GameCube.
It was on.
like
I mean,
literally
it wasn't the
like,
GameCube, and also not the
last,
best-selling console
like,
either.
year.
So it's not like it had the potential to be like the best, like a bombastic. I mean, it's also kind of niche, but I mean, if it came out
Yeah.
here when it was on the Wii,
and what happened?
I mean, that probably could have helped it.
And that's what's annoying. So they tried it on 3DS with Park Patrol, which was basically a direct sequel where you're outside in a small garden park thing. And
It was a Walmart
it was pretty
exclusive.
fun. It wasn't quite as good, but it was pretty fun. But yes, exactly. It was a Walmart exclusive. As the only way you could get it was Walmart, and they only got a limited stock of it. Then they did release Chibi Robo on Wii in Japan as part of the new Play Control series, which is also how pointer controls were introduced to Pikmin 2. But they didn't release the Chibi Robo Play Control here in the States, even though it was basically done. They just needed to slap on the localization they already had. Then they did like all the weird spin-offs, like the Photo Safari one, Photo Finder or whatever it's called, and then obviously Ziplash, as you've talked about.
Well, there was
repeatedly.
that.
So like the series kind of, they kept trying to make the
There was a
character
direct
work without
sequel
having
to
the
the
series
GameCube
work,
one.
and the problem
I'll take
is
that one.
like.
No, on DS.
No, yes, on 3DS, that's only in Japan. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or on DS, right. Yeah, that one never came stateside either. It's just kind of like, and now we have this company, Skip Ltd, who everyone thinks is probably gone because their
Maybe they got
website's now
absorbed by
403
Nintendo?
error. Their Tokyo office seems to have been shut down, and their CEO, I doubt that. And their CEO removed the Skip name from his Twitter bio.
Oh wow.
So, which like, it just looks like they're basically gone. But it sucks because like, it would cost a small bit of money, but an HD upres of like the original Chibi Robo, I feel like it could have done really well right now. Like, people are buying games more than ever. The industry's up like 32%. There's a ton of Switches out there, as we've discussed, and I feel like some of the themes of Chibi Robo and some of the concepts, like, I feel like that would have resonated with some folks who picked up Animal Crossing. Some of those 22 million. And if every single game Nintendo puts out does like 1 million minimum on Switch, let's even say it does 500,000 or 750,000, that might have been enough to save the franchise. And I feel like other companies get that niche but recognizable games can have a second life on Switch. I think like a really good example that's been bubbling up lately are rumors that Killer 7 is now coming to Switch as a remaster, which, first of all, I feel like, Kevin, were you recently saying you wanted Killer 7 on Switch? Am I remembering that correctly?
Nope.
Oh, I guess I'm crazy. Do you want Killer 7 on Switch, Kevin? Have you played Killer 7?
Yeah, I played Killer 7. Killer 7 is a fine game.
Which was that? Did that one
I
predate?
feel like it would work well on
Like-
Switch, right? Because like,
Yeah, it's not like that game.
What?
I don't
That-
remember.
that was it's Suda
It's like when,
51.
like,
It's
when
one
I
of the
think like
Capcom
early
5.
cel shaded
That's-
games, that's like
Suda
one that always
51s.
comes to mind, even though I never played it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Killer 7, 13, and yeah, Wind Waker.
Oh, that's what you're asking. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
those
I
are
didn't
kind of
ask for
for and
pictures.
and
Yeah,
don't forget Cell. Oh, what's it called? The vehicle combat
Cell
game from
Damage.
EA that came. Cell Damage. Yeah, that was before Wind Waker by about a year. if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
Killer 7 is a fine game. It's not my favorite Suda 51 game, but it's one of
It
the
does seem like a
better
good fit
ones.
for Switch though, because they can like hide some of the graphic fidelity differences because the cell shading.
Sure.
And like, there's already a pretty big audience for that sort of mature game on the Switch.
Yeah.
But like it. So the way this rumor came about was some YouTuber found that the owner and VP of a developer named Engine Software, who previously brought Killer 7 to Steam in 2018, also listed the Switch as part of that release, like on his like work history on LinkedIn. And obviously that hasn't happened yet, but it was listed as a game. And then he also says he's currently the producer on an unannounced title in collaboration with a prolific Japanese game designer. So it seems like they're bringing Killer 7 to Switch. Either that or they're talking about No More Heroes, which a Taiwanese rating board also just revealed, leaked, is coming to Switch. Port of No More
If
Heroes.
we're getting 3, 4, whatever number.
But I feel like what? Well, yeah, probably to prime the pump for 3. Yeah, which was supposed to be out this year, but now it's probably looking like it's not. We haven't heard a peep really. Every time they show footage of it, Suda51 just standing in front of it where you can actually see anything. So, but either way, like these are types of games that like I feel like it's not a huge effort to get them on Switch, and they can get a second lease on life and kind of find a new audience, a bigger audience. There's 62 million people that have Switches. That's bigger than the GameCube audience ever was. That's No More Heroes was on Wii, so okay, arguably it had a decent enough audience as is, but they're priming the pump for 3, so it makes sense. Actually, I have a question now I think about it. Kevin, what is the gameplay of Killer 7? I only know it for its visual style.
It's kind of it was weird. It was basically a long hallway. Well, I guess that's basically you're if I remember correctly, you're holding down the A button to go forward, B to move backwards.
So
but
it's
you're
like
on a
an
linear
arcade
rail.
shooter that you have
And
control
then
of.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly. And then there are these enemies that show up, and then it switches over to a first person view, and then the enemies show up, and then you just shoot them in the weak points, and that's it.
Wait, that's it?
Yep.
So it's more of a visual story driven thing than a actual gameplay heavy.
I mean, there were puzzles,
shall we say.
and then you could switch between 7 characters, hence the Killer 7. Hence the 7 and Killer 7.
7 assassins, right?
Yeah, and then
That feels like such a prototype for No More Heroes because he had all the different assassins in that one. Where he's like, oh, I did 7. What if I do 13? What if I do 100? Maybe. But yeah, so like that I think like is something I could do on Switch. And like even games that are a bit more well known are coming to Switch. I'm just kind of like, see, Nintendo, if like Braid Anniversary Edition can happen, why can't any of your stuff? I mean, Braid, like, explain this one to me. So Braid's doing an Anniversary Edition. It's coming to Switch and a bunch of platforms next year. It's gonna have some enhanced art, tweak level designs, adjusted music. They're doing all this for the 13th anniversary of the game, which I guess is a milestone. Like, I don't know why they.
I haven't played Braid. I'm assuming you haven't played Braid. It might be something to do with the game itself.
Yeah, I played Braid
Maybe.
and I beat it.
Angel, did you play Braid? You played Braid. Is there
maybe.
stuff involving
the
13?
I mean, it's a fun puzzle game, but it's like as artsy fartsy as it gets. So there could have been. There was like, I played it specifically just for the puzzles. Yeah, it's a puzzle game. What else would you be playing it for? But there's also like a lot of like text all over the place and a lot of like symbolism that's all over the place as well that I just completely ignored and didn't really care for, because the game itself was just really cool. Like, essentially, depending on the level, like, just for example, there's some levels where as you're walking to the right, time plays out time plays out normally, but if you walk to the left, every time starts going backwards. So as you progress through the level, sometimes you're forced to go forwards and backwards, and that will make enemies move forwards and backwards as well to go backwards in time, or platforms will rebuild themselves. So you have to figure out the correct path you have to take so that you can actually go through the level. Because if you were to progress the way you normally think you would end up getting blocked off. So there's always like a trick to it. Like, you might have to jump off of an enemy or something like that. Like, there's also some situations where like everything is in slow motion except for the enemies, or sometimes like while you're standing on a certain platform, everything around you is going in reverse except for whatever's touching that platform. Like, there's always like a weird rule to each level. Every level is different, and like sometimes like if you're standing in a certain particular spot, things start to go double speed or things freeze. Like, it's clever. It is a clever puzzle game, but it's also like one of those where I want to say, like, you're supposed to be rescuing a princess. There's like every time you beat like a world, there's like a dinosaur at the end that tells you like the Princess in Another Castle. Like this, the game or the creator definitely loved Mario. There is like some levels that are just straight up like homages to like the Donkey Kong arcade game, and even like the main enemy is like straight up supposed to like referencing a Goomba if you look at them. But yeah, like the final level and you save the princess and like there's some cool things with the final level that I won't spoil, but like ultimately I want to say the game is supposed to be a metaphor for the atomic bomb. I don't really know how, but I know it is because it's just that kind of game. Like every chapter has like some text you can read. You're like in some apartment. It's like you'll know if you see it. It's just it was one of the first ones, so it was before this got too heavy-handed in the indie world. But I mean, it was one of the first ones I played, just because it was like that and Super Meat Boy, like one of the first few like big indie games that I guess got passed around.
Right, yeah, because it was a
I don't even know what the title
time,
has to do with the game, but
I guess even to yeah, but as I say too, like they're kind of the thing I was saying. Like 1 out of 3 of us has played it, and indie games are such a bigger presence on the Switch and in general now that like re-releasing it, even if the 13th is random of an anniversary, it does make sense because there's like so much untapped audience for it, which is kind of true with Killer 7 and No More Heroes and any of the ports that we want, and Pikmin 3 and what have you. It's just like, yeah, it just seems like right now we're sort of in this cycle right now where Nintendo's announcing a game and releasing it 8 weeks later, and it works. It led to Paper Mario success, Clubhouse game success, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon success, like I like to cite over and over since March. But the downside is right now it also signals how many games we know are coming down the pipe. Like we know there's a Pikmin announcement now at the start of August for the end of October.
I see what you did there.
What? Oh, haha, that's good. But yeah, it does. What I was starting to say is like it does kind of tell us a little what's happening. Like it. So like if Pikmin's announced now and we know it's coming out at the end of October and we know there's always opportunities for ports, like does it mean if Pikmin's coming out at the end of October and we could be getting ports or not, that basically Nintendo's not doing anything from now till then? Like, are they skipping their 4th week of August release window that previously gave us Pikmin and Wonderful 101 and Metroid Samus Returns? Like, does it mean they're skipping September? And like, if so, does that mean their holiday lineup is just Pikmin 3, which we now know of, and the rumored Mario 3D collection? Like, rumor has it they've been saying already to go port of Metroid Prime Trilogy for years. People need to just chill.
We're in a pandemic.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, like what?
It's like I'm sure like they're pumping out stuff at the best rate that they can, and anytime something else gets announced, I'm sure people are already spinning their theory machines and like, all right, they just announced Pikmin 3 2 months ago. They released blah blah blah. That means they're releasing a game at 3 months per thing. That means we should be expecting an update like in October, I guess, or I don't know. Like just chill. I know you have nothing to do right now, but chill. Read a book. Maybe this is the first time you'll have a chance to read a book.
Yeah, because that was going to lead to my next. Well, that was going to lead to my next. And there's some great books about Nintendo, as we were talking about last episode. But yeah, that kind of was getting at my point. Though, is like if they're sitting on, even if they're not, like, but they. Hindsight's 2020, but I feel like if Nintendo knew that they'd be sitting on all these ports and had these opportunities, like if I was them, I'd just flood the market. Not flood it completely, but they could do a regular drumbeat of releases of just ports and hit so many people because the Switch is so big now. And maybe they will, or maybe they'll surprise Shadow Drop with like stuff like Good Job and Jump Rope Challenge and the Stretchers last year. Like they could have those brewing. They're very unpredictable right now, but it seems like it would be a good opportunity should they choose to take it, even if the pandemic's stopping them from doing some real heavy lifting with new releases. Like maybe give us a few more ports. Will they? Probably not. And on some level, like the surprises, like you're saying, Angel, like like everyone just relaxing, things will be surprising and come when they come. Like there's something to be said for that, because like the DLC surprises of like they're just like, hey, here's an arms fire, like that's kind of cool. Smash Bros. Randomly they just released a new stage on, sort of. Yep. That was kind of cool and literally out of nowhere. Yep. But it's a new stage. But no, like little things like that, like they can do, and everyone's gonna be like, whoa, because it's been so quiet. But I just kind of, part of me is just like, they could totally be turning around some really easy ports and just getting some IP, some attention they don't currently have, because there's this huge captive audience right now. But with that, actually, with Smash in mind, do you have thoughts on the small battlefield?
Yeah, there was an update. It had a small battlefield, and the ability to use any music you want on any of those Smash stages. By that I mean like Battlefield, Final Destination, or I guess any of the 3 versions of Battlefield now. And it is popping up more online. Like almost everyone seems to be using Small Battlefield exclusively now, which is fine. But man, I didn't realize Persona was as popular as it is, or maybe just in the Smash community, because I swear, like, every person that I've played that picks Small Battlefield always has that same, like, Persona, maybe Persona 3, I don't know, whichever one is associated with yellow, but they keep playing Persona 4, but it's always that same song
Persona
every single
4.
time, and it's like different opponents, and it's always that Persona song. I'm like, damn, did I miss the memo? Was I supposed to be picking that song as well? But yeah.
You know what memo was missed for sure? We said Persona how many times? And Kevin, you didn't say
The series is called.
your usual...
Yeah, baby, I love Persona.
There you go. No energy. I'm going to assume it's because it's so hot.
No, I'm in a perfectly air-conditioned room.
I mean, so am I, but... Huh, weird. Anyway.
That didn't seem appropriate.
Oh, okay. Angel, as you were saying, I cut you off for that.
I mean, I guess
dead end.
I haven't had as many games with crazy lag as usual, which is great. I mean, I feel like I usually don't really have issues with latency. I mean, at least ever since like we upgraded our internet from, I kid you not, like 5 megabit internet to whatever we have now. Can't believe we had internet that slow for such a long time. I even tried to make gaming work, but yeah, like usually those games are much fewer and far between, which means, I mean, it's still host based, so there's only so much they can do on their end. Since if someone still has a terrible connection, it's still gonna come through. So yeah, them flipping a switch isn't gonna make online seamless. But I don't know. I never really had that big of an issue with online anyway. It just is what it is. Just adapt. But yeah, I mean, it is just nice just to have an extra stage,
right?
So we're not always playing on Pokemon Field, or I was gonna say, or just to have more variety of music in some stages. But now it's just Persona music. But yeah, like even when we play in a Final Destination,
it's
still
like
Persona
add variety,
music.
now you guys less variety.
Damn. Not that it's bad music, but when you hear it all the time,
people love it.
It's something.
Well, yeah, it's like pop rate. It's like pop songs on the radio. Like sometimes at first you might be like, oh, this is kind of catchy,
there's
but then when you
thousands
hear
of songs in Smash Brothers
2,000 times in a week, you're like, I'm over it. Or you hate it
or
from
at least
the
a different
start.
Persona song. Like, I mean, I surprisingly haven't heard.
Or you
anyone
just hate the
pick
song from the start, and it just grates on you.
I guess the main Persona 5 one, because I feel like that's the one that most people would have been picking, because that's the one that actually got a Smash remix. But I guess people just love that Persona 4 music. But yeah.
Persona 4 seems to be everybody's favorite Persona game, which is probably which is weird to me because it's my least favorite.
Do you know
of the most recent 3 games?
Do you know if
do you think that's because
following than 3?
I was just say, do you think it's because it reached a threshold of popular, like
I mean,
it reached a level of exposure
it was on
before
Vita,
that got way more people in, and that was their first one,
PS4
and then they didn't necessarily go back?
So this is
No, it never got a PS4 release. And then it had 2 fighting games.
Oh.
It recently just got re-released on Steam.
Golden.
The Vita version did.
Damn.
Yeah, Golden. Which would be like the perfect one for you to play, I guess, Angel.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my gut feeling is, because here's a weird thought. So it was on PS2, right? That's what you're saying? There's a lot of people who the PS2 was like their first system, and that might have been their first Persona. So that's
kind of
to it. Like it's weird to think about, but like the PS2 for a lot of people that are like in their teens now, like even late teens, like that was their starter system.
Well, yeah, but Persona 3
But I mean, yeah, like it could have come out around the time that a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
Like just because you played a game first,
you know, the theory held water until it didn't.
Get those rose-colored glasses off of your eyes. If you replay it and you find it still really good, then yeah, I mean, then yeah, but some games don't age well.
I feel like
I should
Don't get me
know.
wrong,
I feel like
Persona
there's
4
a-
is
I've
good-
relived that whole
Reading
great
between the
game.
lines ain't.
I thought were like super amazing. Then I went back and played them, and I was like, oh, wasn't as good as I remembered.
Angel
Huh?
is so
Yeah,
close to
why
saying
Why
Star
would I say
Fox
that one? I didn't
64.
play it when
He
it
is
first
so
came out,
close
so I
to
have no
saying it.
nostalgia for it.
Oh, true. But I just remember you always used to use rose-tinted glasses when telling me that I got it
I
wrong
feel like
about
that's
Star
kind
Fox
of a different
64. That was always your
situation
phrases. No, you just have rose-tinted
because I don't have the rose-colored glasses. When I first played it, I was
Mm.
able to see it for the game it was, and no one else could. But yeah, so I think we have a Lego Nintendo Entertainment System NES now available on the docket.
Okay. Yeah, well, so that is true, and the reason is I felt like ending the episode with just like, yeah, Nintendo, just why aren't you releasing stuff has been kind of ad nauseum because it has been, it's been the talking point. So the silver lining of not having Nintendo games to buy is us core fans can now go spend their money on other things that are about Nintendo, like cool merchandise. And there's an interesting stat in the financial report that their IP licensing expansion efforts, so, licensed merch, theme parks, the mobile apps, like, how they're now doing Mario Kart Tour. They have all these new commercials with that weird "How will you kart" slogan, which is grammatically strange. Anyway, all that has helped them grow that 37% year over year. And I didn't think of it this way, actually, while combining the notes, but now I'm thinking of it as I'm looking at it. Maybe in a way, stuff like Lego Mario actually is their big August release. It's interactive, it stars Mario, it has a digital element. Nintendo's banking out to be a big hit for them. Like, even if you buy just some of it, though, it is an interactive game of sorts. Maybe they are still doing the August release. But anyway, the thing I was trying to get to is one thing I've noticed is, and I know, Angel, you sort of brought this up separately, is that the quality and variety of licensed Nintendo merch is just, there's so much more of it now. And I think it's in part because Nintendo's finally letting the floodgates open or whatever, and letting folks do some creative, fun, weird stuff. I mean, like the Lego NES. That would not have been a thing 6 or 7 years ago. And yet now I have this massive box sitting in my house. It's comprised of 21 bags of a total of 2,600 pieces that I get to transform into what amounts to a really cool, slightly interactive diorama of just pure nostalgia. And Nintendo wouldn't have let that slide a few years ago. But now here we are. And to be clear, this box is massive. I mean, it is huge. It's about the width. Like, if I do my wingspan, it's about the width of, my elbow to my elbow. And it's about as tall as my entire chest. It's almost daunting just looking at, knowing I have to unpack that and, start building it. Almost as daunting because it's so, there's so much to it. But it's actually what I'm going to be doing after we record. So I'm pretty excited for it. But, point is, there's a lot of really cool merch now. So instead of just being there's nothing cool from Nintendo, there is cool stuff. There's the merch and whatnot. Yeah, so Angel, I know that you had some cool Nintendo merch you saw.
A friend of ours on Twitter posted some stuff from Nintendo World, and I guess just like the Mega Man arm cannon that's basically made for cosplay, they have an official Samus arm cannon that I didn't know existed, and that thing is awesome. I want that. I want that really bad. But but I'm not gonna go to New York right now. Maybe it's available online somewhere, but I just really want it.
You could have our mutual friend ship it to you. Okay, that is. But yeah, there is like stuff like that, or even the clothing they have at Nintendo New York now. They have a shirt that just has the name of the hotel from Luigi's Mansion 3 and the logo, as if it's just a brand. It doesn't even mention Luigi's Mansion on it. They're starting to get more it's not just like it used to be oh look, it's chess but with Super Mario, or look, it's a plush of a Koopa Troopa. But now they're starting to actually do some more subtle
the same
stuff.
One from the game, which is really cool. But
yeah. And there's also weird stuff they're doing. I know because of 90s nostalgia, there's been a bunch of N64 and Game Boy merch coming out, and there's Game Boy wristwatches, which I don't know why you would ever wear that, but that's kind of a weird quirky thing that 5, 6, 7 years ago Nintendo might not have done, but now it's like a wristwatch, but it kind of has a little Game & Watch vibe to it. But I don't think it has a game on it. But either way, it kind of looks like the old Game & Watches. It's cool. They're starting to branch out, and that's on top of them doing all the super high end merch, the first for figurines, of It used to be just the main characters. They did Bowser one. They did like I don't remember who else, but now they're starting to do like Majora's Mask. They're doing like Skull Kid. They're starting to get like a little off the beaten path a bit, which is kind of cool to see. They're doing like Midna in her human form. So yeah, it's like starting to get more interesting and broad. Like I don't know, Kevin, is there any like Nintendo merch you've seen that you're just like, oh yeah, that's actually kind of cool, or like that's different?
I
For
feel
you
like there needs to be
personally?
more Earthbound
you-
merch personally.
I'm surprised.
Not
stuff
no,
that's
not personally, just for the Earthbound fans.
I'm surprised
I
they
don't know how-
haven't latched
well,
on to
the
that yet.
NES
I know we're
amiibo
never
sell.
going to get Mother 3. I get that.
They could've-
But, like, NES is...
Yeah.
I mean, I think they sold out. All the amiibo were selling out at that point, so it's not really a good barometer. But I'm just thinking, like, there's enough, like, 90s nostalgia, and there's enough of a fan base because of Smash Bros. With Ness and Lucas that they probably could make a small run of something. I don't know what, but something. It just seems like there's like it's like Nintendo finally realized they have more to their properties than just the big like mascots, and they're finally letting loose with that, which is kind of cool. I mean, granted, the Lego NES is one of their mascots; it's literally a Mario screen. But you know, like the arm cannon, the shirts, the doing maybe something with Earthbound one day, or like even if they did like a shirt of like the lineup of like Punch Out bad guys, and it was like kind of like, you know, those like police lineups, they could do that with the Punch Out villains. Like there's so many things they could do. I don't know. It just seems odd that it took this long to get going, but now that it's going, it's kind of cool to see. Plus, like when Super Nintendo World launches,
a lot
like
a lot
imagine how much
of
merch is
different
gonna
stuff
be
with
there.
like your name on it, which would be cool.
Yeah.
And that's
Imagine
not
if you
even
can get your
including like
own,
the Japanese stuff that is going to be exclusive over there.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I mean,
for sure. What sort of
just, like,
stuff would you
thinking
put your
basic,
name
like,
on? Though?
stuff that
You know, like
Universal
a
Studios
hat, but with
typically
your
have, like,
initial
gift
instead of
shops.
an M.
Like they might have like a warp pipe with like a name on it, or like a bunch of different kinds of magnets. I'm trying to think of like what else they would have, but a lot of like they would definitely have like plushies of like maybe like a Bowser wearing a shirt that says Universal Studios Super Mario World or something like that. You know, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, but I mean, I'm sure we could definitely think crazier. Like
I wonder
like I know
how
in
much
like Universal Studios
I want
LA.
right.
I guess it's just Universal Studios. The Transformers ride like literally
Universal
sells a
Studios
figure
Hollywood,
there only at that gift shop of the Transformer you ride on for the Transformers ride that actually transforms into the vehicle you ride in, which is pretty cool. That's like a nice kind of exclusive figure to have. So you know, like maybe like a scale model of the Mario Kart thing you ride on for the ride. That'd be kind of cool, or just something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is I really hope, because I remember seeing a mock-up or something that I guess the gift shop for Mario Kart is going to be like a mechanic shop for the carts or something like that, supposedly. So like if they actually sold like Mario Kart related things that you couldn't get anywhere else, like I don't know, like obviously
little
you could do a
wrenches
little
with
mini
your name
Mario
on.
Kart. Yeah, exactly, like a little Mario Kart wrench. You could get like little
Yeah, that would
metallic
be something you
versions
don't even
of like
get now, so
items
that'd
or
be kinda
something
cool.
that you know, like a little like banana peel or shell or something. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool, and then they can engrave the logo on the back or something like that. But yeah, I guess the question now is just gonna become like, where are we gonna have to actually go buy this stuff? Because in a bit of bad news, I guess Universal Studios is indefinitely delaying in Florida the Epic Universe Park, which is what Super Nintendo World was going to be part of at Universal Studios Orlando. Like, it's not just a construction pause; it's like a full-on stop on the project until they can assess how much money they have to work with due to being closed for so long and being open at limited capacity and all that. And as it stands right now, there is no longer a date for Super Nintendo World or even confirmation that's going to happen at all for Orlando. I think Hollywood might be okay, so I think we might be okay here. But the bigger version of it right now doesn't seem to be happening anymore, which is odd. A Cinema Blend is reporting, I don't know what their source is, but they're reporting it may get an upgrade of sorts, Super Nintendo World, and join the main park, which I guess originally was the plan before they spun it off into Epic Universe. But even that's not certain. I mean, my guess is there's a contractual obligation Universal has, probably with Nintendo, that like the park has to launch in a certain time frame, and obviously that time frame can shift with COVID. But my guess is all this talk of them not having enough capital to do a broader park or whatever, I suspect they're now scrambling to fulfill the commitment to Nintendo because it's such a big thing across all 3 parks. So my guess is it's probably going to be back in the main park, and my guess is Hollywood will be on track. But as of right now, the only one that's like officially still happening is Japan. Construction's underway here in LA, or was until COVID. Japan's basically done and looks amazing. But yeah, I don't know. Like officially, like Japan's the only one now. So it's another weird. I feel like every episode these days we're ending with some sort of melodramatic note of everything's upended. Who knows what's gonna happen? But like, yeah, who knows what's gonna happen? Or if it's gonna be delayed anywhere around the world. But yeah, so not put a damper on it, but just thought I'd throw that out there for folks who were still expecting it to launch on time. It doesn't
legitimately
look like
depressed now.
I know. So, but here's some good news. You know what we do know? Well, the Japan one's done, and that's the one we were going to go to.
You know what else was basically done?
But it's basically done. But the good news is we do know. One thing we can guarantee is... You're right. It's very close to completion, quote unquote. Well, I guess they're going to go tear down everything they built for Super Nintendo World and give us, hey...
It's pretty much almost done. Nice.
They're also building that Godzilla zipline.
That looks awesome.
Basically, Japan's where is the
good
best place
to
to
live
live,
in.
I think, is the takeaway here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not about living. Yeah, no, to visit. Yeah.
Yep.
To visit for a long period of time, repeatedly. But, yeah. So I guess, unless you guys had anything else, I think that's pretty much this episode. Like, I don't want to end it all melodramatic with who knows what's going on, but I guess the good news is we do know our next episode's going on August 30th. What will contain, I don't know, but it will happen. And even before that happens, we do know our next Quarantine Chronicles will happen
23rd.
on August 9th. I did that math wrong. It can't be August 9th. It's after August 9th. Math isn't the right word. 23rd. Yeah. But yeah, so for all the non-Nintendo content we're consuming, that will have stuff. So those will happen, but I don't know if there's anything else in the news cycle that happened.
I saw
about Quarantine. We actually have a
the
decent
anime
amount
I
of
have seen.
Chronicles. We're consuming a lot of content.
It's so weird.
If Nintendo's not going to give us content, we'll find it elsewhere.
I've seen some stuff, man.
I've seen some things. So I guess if anyone wants to find out what that anime is, tune in next week to make sure you don't miss it. You can subscribe to us on all the podcast apps. I'm not even going to ask what that means. But yeah, you can follow us or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora. I said tune in once and people seemed intrigued, Kevin, so tune in. And we're on YouTube. RamNintendo.com is our channel. We're on Twitter at RamNintendo. We're individually on Twitter. I'm JSR7. Angel's Wero, WEIRO_O. Kevin is KVN Gomi, GOMIE. And I think that just about does it. It's a wild, weird time to be alive. And Kevin, do you have any final words?
It's 104 degrees outside. Stay indoors if you haven't already.